Hey, Bridge Community Church midweek. It's Pastor Andy here. I'm sitting in the beautiful Bridge Community Church office space, and I'm excited because what I get to do is I get to sit here and I get to give you some of my thoughts and my reaction to Pastor Danny's sermon this past Sunday. So if you were there, you might have done something very similar to what I did. I had my Bible with me, but I also took this Bridge Connect card, and I put it to good use. I took my pen, and as you can see, I took lots of notes. And I just want to kind of run through some of the things that I thought as Pastor Danny was preaching, what I thought God was maybe doing in me, and then maybe point out some of the things that I heard as kind of the big main points. And my hope with doing this is pretty simple. It's to just kind of orient your mind and your heart to be prepared for the conversation you're about to have about that exact same sermon. So let's dive right in. So if you were there, Pastor Danny began with this beautiful psalm. I think it was Psalm 62. And it was this description of those who come to the Lord will receive rest for their souls. It's a beautiful verse, but he began to unpack this word. It's kind of a loaded word, and it's the word that we translate into English as soul. It's the Hebrew word, he said, is nephesh. And it doesn't quite mean what we think it would mean. He described that it means our throat. It's this thing that when we really dig into it and we think about it, it kind of starts to become clear and make more sense. It's this place where all we need for life, our intake of water and food and breath and air, all come in and out of our throat. And so Pastor Danny began to tell us, the statement that stood out to me was this, that you don't have a soul, you are a soul. And so he began to kind of build up this foundation of soul. And the very next thing that he started to say, I think as profound as it was actually something that I think every single one of us knows to be true. And that's that our soul can become weary. He even pointed out that very scientific-minded medical professionals who have kind of studied these sorts of things have begun to bulk these illnesses that they can't quite understand as literally soul sickness. And he was saying that the common symptoms of soul sickness are things like this: low morale. He said a common symptom is hopelessness and feeling kind of forlorn and just generally worn down all the time. And that's when I heard the sermon kind of take a turn for something beautiful and wonderful, because he began to talk about Christmas. You know, as we head towards this Christmas season, Pastor Danny reminded us that God chose to come into our reality as a baby. That he chose to break into a place where our souls become hopeless and break hope into the world through a baby. And this is my favorite part of the sermon, because again, he just pointed out some things that I think we all know. That babies are very, very difficult to just stay calm with. You know, you can see a grown man. In fact, this very week, an Instagram post went out of our very own Barry Case. And what is he doing? This big, strong ex-cop, what is he doing? He's sticking his tongue out at my son. Why? Because babies, they kind of bring up the inner child in us. We want to wave to them and we want to stick our tongue out at them. Babies have a way of entering the room, and where there was maybe arguing or strife going on, babies have a way of breaking those things down, of bringing people onto the same page and bringing joy and laughter. Just think of a time where something wasn't going well and a baby laughed. And Pastor Danny pointed out that God, knowing all of these things, brought hope into the world through a baby at Christmas. And as he developed these ideas, these are the things he kind of left us with. He challenged us that this Christmas season we would do 3 things well. The first one was this, that we would wait with anticipation. That as we're just in the middle of December and we're not till Christmas yet, he told us, don't forget we know the end of the story, but in the meantime, wait with expectation and anticipation. And he said this is going to be hard for us to do because we live in a fast-paced culture that values rushing and being busy. And so his challenge for us, and something I took very personally, was this: how are you going to wait with anticipation when there's so many things to do, when there's so many boxes to check and errands to run? And so I was left with this feeling and this question in my own life: how am I going to wait upon the Lord in this season? The second thing that he pointed out was this, is that if we're going to celebrate Christmas well, when it gets here, we need to rejoice and celebrate well. That Christmas isn't just we limp to the finish line and finally we can take a deep breath because all the gifts are wrapped and opened and the trash is put away and finally we can enter 2020. No, he challenged us again, and this is what he said. He said that we can rejoice that God came into the world, and we can do it by celebrating well. So my question, I think, is the exact same question as his. How are we going to celebrate well? It's something that I wrote down. And the third thing that he challenged us, and the question he asked was this, is that how are we as Christ followers in this season, in a culture that values and loves the rush and the speed of all things, how are we going to find creative, unique ways to reveal the hope that God has given to us to others? He said it this way. Let me make sure I get it right. He said that we are called into hope so that we can help others experience the same hope as a hope bringer. So how are we going to be hope bringers in this season? So I'm really excited to hear how your conversations go. I hope this recap was kind of helpful to get a lot of the things you've already heard on the forefront of your mind and in your heart. And I hope that God really speaks to you through this discussion time. So enjoy, and I can't wait to hear all about it. Blessings, friends.